Mr. Gaffney, I want to start off with you. Why shouldn't a viewer sitting home tonight who's watching us say, you know what, this is just one big infomercial to sell home generators?
Because a home generator won't work in all likelihood if the power goes out, at least not for very long. Think about it. You're going to have to fuel it in short order, and that would mean that it would, in fact, be about as useless in a couple of days at most as what you would have without one. This is the problem we're facing, is most of us take as a given that when we hit that light switch, the power comes on. Maybe a bad storm will keep that from happening for a brief period of time, Mark, but for most of us, it's as normal as breathing that it'll work. Unfortunately, enemies of this country understand that they can keep it from working, and if they can keep the grid from working, they can create essentially chaos in our country and the loss of possibly tens, if not hundreds of millions of lives. This is the greatest single vulnerability we have, and the good news about it, as I know we'll be talking about tonight, is we can fix it. We don't have to be vulnerable to these sorts of threats.
But let's stay with the skepticism of the viewer at home, because half of them went through the Y2K disaster, which never happened. Why shouldn't they look at this and say, I get it, it's a potential threat, but it's not very likely?
Well, my answer to that is there were things that had to be done to keep Y2K from being the disaster that we're concerned it would be. But this isn't some small, software glitch. This is a host of vulnerabilities to physical attack, to cyber attack, to electromagnetic pulse, as you talked about in the package, or even if nobody attacks us, to the sun doing devastating damage to the most critical of critical infrastructure. So this is something that people can pretend isn't a problem, but they are simply guaranteeing that if not they themselves, certainly their children will suffer grievous harm inevitably.